All right, American Literature 1, we have arrived to, we've arrived in week number 13, and now is the time when I'm going to say it's really time to start working hard on your literary essay. And if you haven't finished your author reports, make sure to finish those. If you take a look at how much points we've done in the class right now, we've done all of the short writings, we've done all of this discussion boards, okay? So and I will say, if for some reason you've fallen behind, here, let me just share this with you. I forgot to put the share screen on there. If you've fallen behind in the class, make sure, if you haven't handed these things in, the discussion boards, remember you need to hand in, you're handing in the same thing to the short writings and the discussion board, but I expect you to be discussing, okay? So if you haven't made comments on other people's uploads, make sure to do that. I will be grading those soon. Anything I've already graded, I'm sorry it's too late, but I probably will start attaching grades to these in the next week or two. So I'm just trying to give you a little extra time, and I'm trying to be really, really understanding. These are things we would normally do in class. So I'm trying to give you a little, little wiggle room, but make sure they're done. That's about 40% of your semester grade. So it can really sink you if you haven't done these. Most of you guys have done a great job. The midterm and the final, of course, that's 20%. We've already done the midterm. That was 10%. The final is another 10%. But if you take a look at the literary essay and the two author reports, that's 40% of your grade. So basically, 50% of your grade at this point has been decided, okay? 50% has yet to be decided, and that's your two author reports, that's your literary essay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm expecting in the literary essay, what I'm expecting in the author reports. Now, let's take a quick look. I guess first, let's look at the author reports. And I've gone over this before, but just really a basic essay format is what I'm looking for: introduction, thesis statement, body paragraphs, a conclusion, all the basics that you would have in an essay, and then 2 to 4 pages over any of these authors that we've read so far. And you're going to discuss, and really looking for a good understanding of the actual literature and of the author, him or herself. Okay, so who is the author? How did this author come to be the author that we know today? Tell me a little bit about this author's work in general, how it reflects the philosophy of the time, or maybe how it does not. And essentially, you're also going to need to do a 5 to 10 minute video. So you got to send me a link if you're going to do however you're going to do the video. I recommend going to YouTube, starting an account there. It's super easy. You upload, you send me the link, it's done. But you have to do that if you're going to get full credit. It's got to be 5 to 10 minutes. It does not have to be a PowerPoint. It does not have to be anything special. Literally, if you just give me the highlights of your reports, that's all I'll need, But if you want to get fancy and just ensure you've got the A on this, I love that as well. But you can still get an A as long as you just give me a nice oral presentation on video, just like what I'm doing with my webcam, just speaking it out, telling me about all the major points that were already brought up in your essay. You're going to do just fine. It's just a part of the class that I have to have some kind of a oral presentation. Normally, when we did this class in person, we did this, you'd have to stand in front of the class and you would have either a PowerPoint, or you could just talk. I'd never force anybody to have a PowerPoint. So however you want to do it, don't overthink it, just get it done. Okay, so you've got those two things, and of course you're going to hand those in here in this folder. 10% of your grade per report, so it's significant. Obviously, I hope you don't have an enormous amount of grammatical errors or citation issues, but and I have to grade off a little bit because of that, but the vast majority of what I'm looking for is content. So prove to me that you know who this author is, that you're an expert on this author by writing a very high quality paper. So on weeks 13 to 15, and if we were doing this as a physical class, I would normally not hold classes for quite a few. I would give you a lot of these class periods off to do your work. And also I would require everybody come in to talk to me in my office at least once, or I would ask you to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that this semester, but what I would like you to do is email me to let me know what your plans are for the literary essay. I just want to know that you're actually still alive and thinking about this. Okay, so make sure to do that. And then if you want to talk to me, feel free during my office hours, or we can make a specific appointment during the noon hour on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or anytime really that works for you. That will also work for me. So I want to work with you on that. Mondays are generally the best days. Anytime between 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock on most Mondays, I am in my office doing grading, doing work here. So it's a great time for virtual meetings. But I'm not going to attach a grade to it. You're not required to do it. I just want to give you that option so that you can feel confident going into this, saying, okay, I know that whenever I complete all these things that Professor Coomer and I talked about, I can hand in this essay knowing I'm probably going to do just fine. Okay, so that is something I want you to be aware of. You can talk to me, email me, we can do a virtual conversation. I want you to feel good going into this because, hey, this is a significant 20% of your grade, just one essay. Okay, now let's talk about it. It needs to be 4 to 6 pages long. If you go longer than 6 pages, don't go longer than 8. Okay, if you go longer than 8 pages, I'll start counting off. If you go shorter than 4 pages, I have to count off significantly. So it needs to be at least 4 full pages, and your works cited entry does not count for page length. So all the works cited entries or whatever you do with your works cited page, none of that counts for your page length. So it needs to go all the way down, for all 4 of your first pages to not get counted off significantly for a completion grade. So here's the thing. Times New Roman, 12-point font, 2-point spacing. You got to have a works cited page. Okay. If you don't have that, you're asking for a very poor grade, because that's just some very basic formatting. So for this assignment, you choose a work of literature. Okay, so you choose a work of literature from the time period. Now, it says pre-Civil War America. We know that some of the things were written just in that Civil War era. So anything we've already written this semester, or anything we've already read this semester, you can write about. So, but you're going to focus on a piece of literature. So in this essay, you're going to talk about the author a little bit. You're going to provide some information, but really your focus on this essay is not the author so much as this specific piece of literature itself. So what is it, out of all the readings, which one do you think is the most applicable to the world today? And that is your goal. Like it says here, your goal is to make an argument. So it's an argumentative essay that expresses why this piece of literature is applicable to the current day. Why should people in the year 2020, the year 2021, why should they have a working knowledge of this specific piece of literature from American history, right? So you can choose anything we've read this semester and just say, okay, this is essentially what it meant then. This is what it could mean now. This is why we should read it. You must use at least one primary source, of course. Okay, a primary source, essentially all that means it's the original piece of literature. So the poem, the story, that's the primary source. So you're going to be citing from that. You're going to quote, you're going to paraphrase, you're going to give a summary. However you do that, I do want you to use MLA format and use it well. But that's the point. We have to have the primary source, or else you really can't have an essay. So you have to have that. The other thing is you need a secondary source. And basically what you're going to look for is criticism or commentary on the piece of literature that you're looking at. And you can do that very easily. Just go to the Shake Library. You can search through the 1VU. You can go and take a look through the databases. There are some literature-based databases, or you can use Academic Search Complete. That's always a good one. But instead of just looking for, like, for instance, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, look for criticism or commentary or meaning of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Don't just search for that piece of literature, because all you're going to find is that piece of literature. Try to sharpen your search results by sharpening your search entry. So the meaning of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, significance of historical significance, think about that. That's the kind of thing you're looking for in your secondary source. And with a secondary source, all that means is, at least in one of your paragraphs, you're going to bring up what somebody else thought about this particular piece of literature. That's really all it means. So you'll have a paragraph and that cites this secondary source, and you're saying, hey, this is what so-and-so felt about it. And maybe this other person has already made an argument why we should be reading this particular piece of literature in this current age. Maybe not, most likely not, but maybe they have. And if they haven't, that's fine. All you need to do is have a paragraph that essentially talks about this person's point of view or this person's critical analysis of that piece of literature. And that really satisfies this aspect of the assignment. Of course, you don't have to limit it to one paragraph. You can use that source all throughout your essay as well. But don't just use, you got to really be careful about the secondary essay, the secondary source. I don't want you to use Spark Notes or, quote from some random website. It needs to be from a source that is actually, okay, there was an article written and published that is focused on this particular piece of literature. Now, first of all, so some people might search for like 5 minutes and not be able to find it. It may take a little while to find the article or a certain piece of criticism. We call it literary criticism that you're looking for. The secondary source may not just jump out at you, but it will be there. And the best bet you have is using the VU Online Library. Now, having said that, for some people, maybe it's really hard to find a piece of secondary, basically a secondary source that you want to use. And so maybe you might have to shift and use a different primary source. That's okay. We've read multiple things from all these authors. Maybe no one wrote about young Goodman Brown, which they did. But maybe they didn't. Okay, so maybe I'll search for something else that I'll write my essay over. So those two things are required. You need a primary source. That's pretty basic, fundamental, not going to be hard. The secondary source might give you a little bit of trouble, but you've got plenty of time to search. You've got 3 weeks before this is due, and so you shouldn't have a problem at all. Okay, so this is due. Let's see here. This is due at the end of week 15. So we're at the beginning of week 13. So you've got week 13, all of this week, all of next week, and all of the week after that to complete this essay. Now, of course, Thanksgiving is going to fall in during this time, so don't assume you have literally 3 full weeks. You're probably going to want to do some traveling, go home, see your family, however you're going to celebrate the holidays. Now, I also have on week 14 an annotated bibliography is due. I'm not going to require that this semester, so don't worry so much about an annotated bibliography. And I don't require a proposal this semester. I would just prefer, instead of a proposal, you email me essentially, this is what I'm planning on doing. This is what my plans are, and then I can email you back with any suggestions, or I can simply say, hey, that looks pretty good, or maybe I'll ask a question, but I'm not going to ask you to do a bunch of extra work this time. Okay. I just really, really want you to do some deep thought and just let me know what you're planning on doing. If you want to have a Zoom meeting where we shoot ideas back and forth, I'm more than happy to do that. And so literally I'm not going to assign anything to be handed in to me. Anything you see on this syllabus, don't worry about it, because I'm not going to require you to hand any of these things in. All I want you to do is focus on that literary essay being due in the end of week 15. So get a hold of me, at least email me. This is what my plans are. All I ask is that. If you want to talk to me, if you want to do a Zoom meeting, if you want to have a conference with me, I'm more than happy to do that. And just let me know, and then we'll set it up as far as when we'll do that, and we'll just make an appointment. Or you can always drop into my office hours. Again, normally Mondays. Today is Monday. I probably won't be in my office all day, but I'm going to be in it off and on all day. So if you want to just kind of take a chance and see if I'm in there and we can talk, and then, okay, cool, I don't need to talk to him again because I've already talked to him, you can do that too. Otherwise, just email me and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. Can we set up an appointment? Again, that's not required. It's just something that I'm offering to you because I want you to feel good when you hand this in. I want you to feel good going into the holiday season. Okay. We've got a lot of things to look forward to. And so I want you to look forward to getting your grade back as well. And so the first step to doing that is knowing approximately, do I have a good plan or not? So having said that, guys, work really hard on your literary essay, work really hard on, if you need to catch up on those discussions, on any of the previous writings, go ahead and do it. Professor Coomer's being super nice. It's Christmas all semester long this semester. I'm already, you know what? My wife put up the Christmas tree already. I know some people are going to think that is a ridiculous thing, but it kind of is nice. I've kind of enjoyed having the Christmas tree up. It was just this weekend she put it up. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm listening. Maybe I'll listen to some Christmas music. Maybe try that out. I don't know. Anyway, catch up on the work that's already due. Make sure to hand in those author reports. Make sure to hand in your literary essay in week 15. Really start working on it. And you definitely want to email me what your plans are. And then if you need to talk to me further, then we can do that as well. Guys, have a great week. I will see you next week with an update.